The Rams defeat the Chargers 23-21 in week 2 of the 2025 preseason. Who are some standout players? And we'll talk about other news and notes on this post-game reaction episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. If you're on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell. And if you're on the audio only or podcast only side of things, share this podcast with all your fellow friends. And any of those options, it helps out the algorithm for other Rams fans to see our content. And I very much appreciate it. But, oh, man. 2 fun preseason games in a row. I'll take it. Rams win 23-22 against fellow tenants of SoFi Stadium, the Los Angeles Chargers. As I know a lot of people were joking about how 2 LA teams were playing 2 San Diego teams this weekend. Dodgers, Padres, and then Rams, Chargers. I know a lot of people made that joke, and I saw that. Gave me a good chuckle. But what a fun preseason matchup that was, Rams Nation. As you got the drama, you got the big plays, you saw some starters from the Chargers, and you saw grit, toughness, smarts, and playmaking from the Los Angeles Rams. And gosh, we got to start with this dude right here. I mean, freaking Stetson Bennett had, in my opinion, the best game of his career thus far. Has he played in any regular season games? Obviously not. But this, in all his preseason action and any game action he's ever gone, this was his best performance. And I don't even think that's a debate. Now, let's get the ugly out of the way. Did he throw some bad passes? Absolutely. 2 in a row come to mind. The one where probably should have been a pick right before he threw his next pass that was an interception to a big boy D lineman. That one he just totally didn't see that guy dropping into coverage and threw it right at him, interception return, and hopefully, not hopefully, thankfully, he did not injure himself, Stetson Bennett, tackling that Chargers defender as it looked like, he was a little hobbled to get up. So, a couple bad moments, wasn't perfect, but let's get to the fantastic things that we saw from quarterback Stetson Bennett. I mean, man, oh freaking man, the dude was throwing dimes today. As shout out to Ari Miroff, as he has this fun, tweet/post on Twitter X. Rams quarterback Stetson Bennett versus the Chargers. He was 28 of 40 with a 70% completion percentage. I mean, man, that's a lot of passes for one guy. Man, he did one hell of a job distributing the football. 324 passing yards in this game. 3 touchdowns, including that game winner. We'll get to that. He obviously had that bad INT. We just talked about it. But then he had 108.8 passer rating, which is fantastic. I mean, the dude had his best game as a professional, and I don't even think it's close, truthfully. If you think about it, think about all the big-time throws that he had. I mean, gosh, guys, the dude looked impressive with the arm strength, right? The comfort in the pocket. He didn't panic too much. Think of all the big-time throws on 3rd down, 4th down, where even when wide receivers for the Rams weren't catching him, they were on the money. I mean, I was sincerely impressed with Stetson Bennett. I mean, think of the touchdown pass he had to all 3 of his guys. All of them were really fun. The very first one with Konate Mumfield, shout out to him. That was fun on that 4th and goal situation. You had the bomb post down the sideline. Or not down the sideline, to the middle of the field, excuse me. You had his other fantastic throws to the sideline area where they were dropped, but they were right in the bucket, hit the hands of multiple wide receivers. And other times, too, where he was hitting guys in the right spots, in the chest, in the gut, in the radius of where they could catch it. And then the guts at the end of the game when he got a chance to throw that game-winning touchdown. Fantastic performance. Absolutely freaking fantastic from Stetson Bennett. I mean, man, guys, I can't be happier for him than I am right now, truthfully. As I mean, guys, the dude can play some football. In years past, it was bad, really bad. Think back to his rookie year. Dude was horrible and then went away for personal reasons, mental health issues, whatever you want to call it. Got his help, was a little bit better the year after, a little bit better. And then now here we are, a couple games in a row where he's looked really, really nice. And you know what else is important to mention here? That the Chargers played their starters for a drive or two, but even on those drives where it was their starters versus or starting defenders against this Rams backup / third string crew on offense, they did one hell of a freaking job, and Stetson still distributed the football well. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. Yes, the game-winning drive and multiple Hail Mary-esque throws in that game were fun from Stetson. But I think what you should be most proud of and most satisfied with is that he played well when the Chargers starting defenders were out there. Yes, there was no Khalil Mack and there was no Derwin James. Okay, but there's still 8+ other guys out there in that Chargers starting defensive unit, and they drove the ball. He threw well, and then obviously threw that touchdown pass to Konate Mumfield. So out of everything, you should be most proud that Stetson looked good against the Chargers starters, even if it was for a drive or two. But that matters the most. How do you look against other guys who are starting caliber players in NFL? And he and the offense as a whole look damn good. And shout out to him for having a nice game overall. And shout out to Rams PR for pulling up this fun stat here. After today's performance against the Chargers, quarterback Stetson Bennett leads the NFL preseason in passing yards with 512 and passing touchdowns with 5. I mean, so yes, he's playing the full game. He wasn't getting, yanked in the third or fourth quarter for another guy to play like most other teams, right? Stafford's QB1, Jimmy's QB2, and then he's QB3 with obviously Dresser Wynn as the fourth camp, quote unquote camp barn guy. And I'm sure maybe we'll see some of them against Cleveland next weekend for the final game of preseason. But regardless, in all his snaps, he looks like an NFL quarterback. Looks like he belongs. So good on Stetson Bennett. Good on his journey for overcoming the darkness that was bothering him, his rookie campaign and whatever that was. Overcame it. He's back. And gosh, he just looks so much better. And again, the arm strength, the power, the decisiveness. I think all those things you did not see in years past. And he just looks like an NFL quarterback. He belongs. And good on him for that. Good on you, Stetson Bennett. And good on this Rams offense for looking good overall. As talking about wide receivers, they made some big plays yet again. You got Mario Williams catches that 38-yard bomb from Stetson Bennett, making that his first career touchdown as a professional. That was pretty cool. And then obviously we talked about Konate Mumfield. Shout out Rams PR again as well, with Konate scoring his first career touchdown as a pro with that 4th and goal, couple-yard touchdown pass where it was a heavy play action. The Chargers bit on it, and Konate put a move and was open in the middle of that end zone. That was fun as well. But outside of them, I mean, guys, a lot of big plays from the wide receiver crew yet again. And I think that's fantastic to digest as well outside of Stetson, because guys got to catch those passes that Stetson is throwing, right? And for the most part, they did. Again, there were some other ones that were dropped in the bucket and they weren't caught, but we expect starting caliber players to make those catches, and we know our guys will for sure. But in terms of receiving, right, you got Brennan Presley, 6 catches for 102. Fantastic. You got Xavier Smith, who looked like a playable rotating receiver on the regular season on, a playoff team with 4 catches for 49. You have Mario Williams with those 2 catches for 46 yards and a touchdown. True Edwards, 3 for 32 in the game-winning touchdown at the end of the game. Then you got obviously Cody Schrader out of the backfield getting a couple. You got Drake Stoops making some plays. And then you got, Konate Mumfield getting his 2 with a touchdown there. So overall, these young Rams wide receivers, or these, we want to call them second, third string guys, showing that they can play some damn good football 2 weeks in a row now in the preseason. I think that's very good for multiple reasons, right? You never know with injuries, and the Rams wide receivers have a history of being banged up. Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington. Devontae's been pretty dang healthy, and that's been a blessing for him, and will hopefully continue to be a blessing for us this upcoming regular season and hopefully beyond that. But you never know. The Rams use a ton of wide receivers, 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receivers. And they use that the most out of any team in the entire National Football League since Sean McVay's been the head coach here since 2017. So you need as many guys ready to go from that wide receiver position as possible, because the dependency on that position group to block, to catch, to be involved in the run game, take handoffs, be a part of blocking DNs and linebackers and et cetera, et cetera. We need guys that can play and can fill in if things go south health-wise. And I think for a second week in a row, we're seeing that unfold. We got some guys that can play some football at wide receiver and make big plays, make big catches, and block. And I think that's an incredibly fantastic positive to take away from this game. But how about those running backs? I mean, yet again, guys, I think they ran decisive and were productive. Shout out to Rams PR for this fun tweet here, or post. Running backs, Blake Corum and Jarquez Hunter are 6th and 7th in first half rushing yards during the 25 preseason. As yes, Blake Corum, yet again, in my opinion, looked good, was making great cuts, finding the open holes, getting positive yardage. And then Jarquez Hunter, his smash mouth / bowling ball style of running, even when things aren't there. And, the blocking wasn't as clean and crispy as you would hope this time around in this game. But he was getting positive yardage. He was running well, in my opinion. And how about the other guys getting handoffs? How about, Cody Schrader yet again? I thought he looked like he belonged. As yes, he's playing near the end of the game against possible other third string, 4th string guys. But I thought overall, the whole room yet again was looking pretty dang good. But how about these stats here? So Jarquez Hunter getting 15 carries for 55 yards as he played a majority of the game. Productive, right? Average 3.7 yards per carry. Could be better with the starting O-line, in my opinion, okay? But take it for what it is, productive. Cody Schrader had 13 for 48, also 3.7 yards per carry. Solid. And he has a couple catches out of the backfield that were, good yardage. Then Blake Corum, 4 for 22, where he averaged 5.5 yards per carry. He looked fantastic again, as I stated earlier. Then you had Xavier Smith getting his carry, and then obviously Stetson running around a little bit as well. So the 3 guys from last week and this week yet again looked decisive and were productive with their opportunities. So the running back room's in great shape. Again, I am surprised to see Blake Corum get snaps because, he did not last preseason as he felt like a lock. And any guy who doesn't play in the preseason is always a lock to make the roster. So, Sean McVay, this coaching staff, and maybe the front office as a whole as well, think that, hey, maybe Jarquez Hunter should, leapfrog Blake Corum. But let them battle it out. Let them best man win. But I hope all of them get some type of carries. And I mean Kyron, I mean Blake, I mean Jarquez. And in an emergency, if Cody Schrader has to get some, because I know Ronnie Rivers is dealing with an injury right now, unfortunately for him, all these guys can play. And I think the top 3 guys especially deserve and should get carries in the regular season, not just end of game where Kyron is done for the day, Rams are winning, or he's tired and yada, yada, yada. I mean, they all deserve opportunities to carry the football, and they all have their own unique skill set. And we saw that for a second week in a row, and I think that's a good sign, Rams Nation. But how about the O-line? I thought they held up well majority of the game. Was the run blocking crispy maybe as last week's Dallas game? No, it was not. But I thought they did a good enough job to get push and to get, positive momentum in the run game. Again, it wasn't perfect. I'll look back at the film for fun and see, which guys look good or maybe need some work. And that's for my own enjoyment, I suppose. But overall, I thought they did well in the run game. Wasn't perfect, wasn't crispy, but got movement. And that's what you want to see, right? You don't want to see guys getting their ass whipped up front, getting blown back in the run game. And that's a big negative and a no-no. And in the passing game and their pass protection, there was moments where they got their butts whooped. And, last week was very abnormal to see an O-line dominate like that, even in a preseason game. This week, they're better coached up with Harbaugh's Chargers on defense and team as a whole. So, but overall, they gave Stetson time. Stetson was able to deliver. And even the times where he was under pressure, I mean, they at least created some form of a pocket where Stetson could step up, or he just had enough time to get the ball out to a playmaking wide receiver. So I thought that was encouraging. And I think you should be encouraged too that this O-line doesn't look disastrous like we've seen in years past in preseason. We're like, man, a lot of these guys don't look like they can play. This O-line, I believe, majority of them can play some NFL football. Yes, are they going up against Myles Garrett and, Nick Bosa and, Jalen Carter? Of course not. But we just want guys that look like, hey, you can handle yourself out there when the lights are on, stadium lights are on at SoFi Stadium, and you're playing in a game, not just practice when you get your limited reps. I think you could say that, and I think that's a good sign for sure. But switching to defense, I mean, how did that D-line look? I thought they looked strong and aggressive yet again. And let's pull up this fun stat. I know outside linebackers technically aren't part of the D line. And yes, they are lined up on defense on the line. So yada, yada, yada for anyone out there, being stingy about that. But we'll include the outside linebackers in this, front seven discussion. How about that? Shout out to Rams PR here. At the end of the first half of the second preseason game against the Chargers, outside linebacker and Southern California native Brennan Jackson is one of 5 players across the NFL to record 2 sacks in a single game thus far in the preseason. The last Rams player with 2 sacks in a preseason game was 2019, and I don't have who that was in the preseason on me right now, but it's been quite some time since someone's had a nice game sack-wise for the Rams in a preseason game. And shout out to SoCal native Brennan Jackson for playing well. I thought he rushed the passer well. Obviously, I thought he was way better in the run game this game, this time around compared to the Dallas game last week. And then the whole, front seven, I will stick to D-line, look good. They look strong. They looked aggressive. I thought they were getting good push against the Chargers O-line here. And I also thought, that they have some really good pass rush moves. You think about guys like, Brennan, who doesn't get a lot of opportunity, and he will probably have to be called up to get some serious snaps with, this outside linebacker room not so deep right now, right? And that's encouraging to see. I think that was very good. And then you just think about the whole D line as a whole, right? Man, we have some really dang good depth. And it's important to realize that with the D line, there is so much wear and tear you get being in the trenches like that, playing and play out. So you need, as a team, as many guys that are capable as possible. Yes, we're going to lean heavily on Kobe Turner, Puna Ford, Tyler Davis, Braden Fisk, and whoever else steps up, of course, right? But those 4 guys need their breathers. They need their moments to rejuvenate on the sideline to get back in to be at their best rushing the passer. Kobe Turner's talked about it, how him being on the field, almost the entire game, switching from traditional D tackle to nose tackle back and forth, that there was times where he just didn't have, the juice he felt he needed on a play-and-play basis last year to, get the quarterback, run down the running back as good as he thinks he can. And I believe him on that. So the depth that we're seeing evolve, behind him, behind the starters on that D line, you should be encouraged, and I am as well for sure. And that includes the outside linebackers. Just all those guys. We need them when they're rotated in these upcoming regular season games to be productive, to stand their ground, and not get pushed around and beat up. I think we saw that, and I think you should be, and I am just really, really happy about that. So, all right, let's move on here. How about those freaking inside linebackers? I mean, man, guys, we have a good little room right now, don't we? Sean Dolak, the undrafted free agent from the University of Buffalo, who was an All American, he got to wear the green dot and be the Mike signal calling linebacker this game. Shout out to Rams PR. As Sean Dolak is second in the NFL and first half tackles during the preseason with 11. He's one of 7 players across the NFL to have double-digit tackles in the first half of a preseason game. So, heck yeah, man. He looks like he belongs. He looks like he can play. And shout out to Chris Poopall Jr. as well. We got a little nervous when he was down on the Chargers sideline after getting some cramps or he was just banged up. And he returned, saw some good things from him. But I mean, this Dolak guy, he can play. And he was getting first team reps, rotating in the Saints joint practice this past week. So, the Rams coaching staff has always talked well about him, right? Before pads even got on and training camp started, he was getting talked about like, yeah, he's got this playbook down. He could probably teach it to anyone else right now, as coaches from the inside linebacker room were saying about Dolak. I mean, that's fantastic praise. You could teach this defense for only being in it, a handful of months. You haven't even played your first regular season game yet. That's fantastic, and it's showing up on the football field. So, yes, Nate Landman is peanut punching fumbles every practice against no matter who it is. Omar Spates, another undrafted guy. We expect them to be the starters, and things are going well with them based on joint practice and just overall practices in general. But to have Dolak be that third possible guy and to have Chris Poopall Jr. be the fourth, and of course Troy Reeder in the mix, Super Bowl champion Troy Reeder, even though we all have our issues with him and how he plays. This is a good room, guys. And to me, inside linebackers just had so much more positive moments. And I'm happy to see that. And I'm happy to see Dolak and Poopall Jr., Chris Paul Jr. look like they belong. That's all we're asking for. Do you look like you belong in the NFL? And the answer for this group is absolutely yes. And you should be excited about that. I mean, when's the last time the Rams inside linebacker room, overall you felt really great about? It's been a long time. And I can't remember the last time I can name 1, 2, 3, 4 guys where you're like, all right, if they had to play, we should be good. Or we should be fine at the minimum. I can't remember that moment, truthfully, off the top of my head. But man, shout out to Dolak, shout out to these inside linebackers. They were making tons of plays. Run game, pass game, sure tackles. Great stuff to see. Absolutely great stuff to see. But how about those defensive backs? I mean, they were playing with some great physicality this game. I mean, we had multiple big hits. Man, and we hope Quentin Johnston's okay, as he got absolutely chin check laid out on that deep bomb when Justin Herbert was in for the starters, and obviously Quentin Johnston, a wide receiver for the Chargers. He got laid out. I mean, man, multiple times there were passes where the DBs were just super physical, and they're able to break up passes like this one by Ingle here, where he saved a touchdown, smacking the tight end there, forcing that incompletion. I mean, that was freaking awesome to see. So, I mean, not only Tanner Ingle with his pass breakups, but, you saw, gosh, I'm blanking on names right here. Apologies. You saw AJ Green have some good moments, right? As you saw, he was involved in that Quentin Johnston, but he had a couple good pass breakups as well. And you saw good tackling from Woods again. I mean, the whole secondary, it wasn't perfect, but they played with great physicality. And I think that's important, as, defensive backs get a bad rap all the time for like not wanting to tackle or they can't tackle. But I feel like this Rams defensive back group, whether it be the corners, whether it be the safeties, whether they play outside, inside, up top, I mean, all these guys are making plays on the football. They aren't afraid to hit. They aren't afraid to tackle. When they do get you, I mean, they're strong guys, and they're bringing that physicality. So out of everything, do they look like they belong? Right? That's the question of the preseason all the time. When you watch these guys, do they look like they belong? And I think a majority of these dudes, truthfully, all of them in the secondary I've seen these past couple games, and especially this game, they look like they belong. So there's going to be some tough discussions among the coaching staff on defense and with Sean McVay in tandem of who are they going to keep. A lot of these guys have made great cases, not only last game, but this game against the Chargers. And that's a great sign. You want this type of issue to be in the preseason where you're thinking, who the hell belongs on this roster? And they're going to make it tough on this coaching staff. And as a fan, and hopefully you feel the same way, we got guys that can play and guys that belong in that secondary. Not perfect, but they look like they belong. And then if they got summoned up to play, whether it be special teams or they have to get some game action, at least they ain't out there looking like lost and they can't tackle, right? The big no-nos as a defender. And they don't seem that way. And that's a great sign, Rams Nation. So you should be happy with that for sure. And then how about the special teams, right? What is going on with special teams? Well, let's get the bad out of the way. And that big punt return for a touchdown, that sucked. As you know, Maurice Jones-Drew and our broadcast team made a good point where they were saying, hey, when a returner, catches it on one end or one sideline of the field and then gets the opportunity to hit the other side of the field, the other sideline, because all the punt team, the gunners, the tacklers are all, getting or they are pursuing to that one specific side. If that punt returner finds an alley or finds that crease to hit to the opposite side, I mean, all you got to do is beat a couple dudes and it's going to be a super massive gain. And unfortunately it was a touchdown. So that hopefully gets cleaned up, as the Rams special teams was so much better this past year compared to really awful 2023 statistic wise, kicking, tackling, punt coverage, kick coverage, all return stuff. It was bad. So hopefully this gets cleaned up. Blackman, the special teams coordinator, gets it, under control for the most part. And that sucked, but I believe it won't happen again unless some chaos unfolds health-wise for guys. But that was the bad. But overall, I thought they tackled well. I thought their coverage, other than that one play, was pretty dang good the whole night. I thought the return stuff, could have been better, but, the kicking game from the Chargers was good as well. But I thought Ethan Evans punted well. I thought, Cardi, his PATs were made good. His shorter field goal was good and crisp. And the special team unit, had that up and down day because of that touchdown return they let up on punt. But overall, thought it was clean, thought it was well executed. And that's a good sign, right? You don't want to see your special teams kicker miss a bunch. You don't want to see your punter, muff punts or kick bad, or, the backspin on the kick is wobbly so that it doesn't travel far in the air, and et cetera, et cetera. But none of those things happen. And overall, again, an up and down day because of that return, but thumbs up for everything else. And I think that's a good sign, Rams Nation. But man, that was fun. What a fun preseason game. I mean, Stetson Bennett, guys, he belongs. He belongs. And shout out to him for that, as again, the Rams win 23-22. And that was a lot of fun, as that win really covered up the fact that we got some, I guess, some puzzling / ominous / weird update on Matthew Stafford, or you can say it was no update, truthfully. And Gary Klein of the LA Times, who Sean McVay always likes to have a fun little back and forth with, he, earlier in the day, asked to confirm whether quarterback Matthew Stafford worked out as scheduled, and the Rams spokesperson or official declined to comment and said Coach Sean McVay would address the situation on Monday. I don't like hearing that. And then to add to it, post-game press conference, Aubrey Pleasant, shout out to Aubrey, as he was the main head coach this game, as Sean McVay had no coaching duties. He was up in the press box, or up in the coaching press box, or the coaching box, whatever name you want to call it. Was hanging out with guys up there, as he handed off those head coaching responsibilities. He didn't have his press conference with the team like if he were the head coach normally. So he didn't have to answer any questions about Matthew Stafford, but Sarah Barshop and others asked about the status of Matthew Stafford post-game in his post-game press conference, and Aubrey Pleasant declined to comment on Matthew Stafford's status. Pleasant deferred to Sean McVay, who is scheduled to talk on Monday. And Coach Pleasant was also asked after, like, hey, was Matthew Stafford on the sideline? As no one was, didn't see him. And the same thing, Aubrey Pleasant said again, I'll defer all the Matthew Stafford stuff to Sean McVay on Monday. And he said, hey, I was so busy with the head coaching stuff. I really didn't know. I really didn't notice. La, 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 la. Okay. But guys, here we are yet again, where we're just getting weird updates that are alarming to me about Matthew Stafford as these weeks continue to go on. So I hope that he had his scheduled throwing session like he did last week, where he was going to throw 50, 60 plus passes and see how that back felt, that aggravated disc or possibly herniated. They're just not saying that word. And hopefully that did occur and he's feeling okay right now. And if it didn't happen, hopefully it's because, hey, well, maybe we'll do it on Monday or something along those lines. And we hope, I'm sure, that it wasn't because he didn't feel good enough to throw or because the pain and the issue is getting worse. But I think to Gary Klein's post, tweet here, how an easy question of like, hey, did Stafford throw? And they're just not going to say yes or no. And I don't think it's some crazy question where you can't say anything. And them just saying, oh, Coach McVay would address the situation on Monday. Ay, 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 ay. So we'll find out very, very soon the positive or negative from this statement from the Rams. And fingers freaking crossed that it's a positive and nothing negative. But I'm fully accepting that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play week 1 and probably more than that based on how this thing has been trending with Matthew Stafford's back. But let's hope for the best. Let's hope we hear some positive news on Monday. But this ominous, alarming, in my opinion, response from that team spokesman and from Aubrey Pleasant, I don't like the look of this. And I'm bracing for something not good to be told to us about Matthew Stafford on Monday from Coach McVay. But I hope I'm wrong. And I hope we hear some great news or just any type of positive news. But things have been trending in the negative direction for weeks now. And I don't like seeing this type of news from Gary Klein. I'm like, dang it, Gary, I could have gone without seeing something like this. I would have been in a great mood, been oblivious to whether Stafford threw or not. And I would have been like, oh, I'm sure it went well. And we'll find out, how it went when we hear from Coach McVay. But now I'm like, wincing at it. But hey, stay positive and let's see what happens on Monday from Coach McVay. But man, oh man, let's not let that deter from the positive of today's fun game. As yes, Chargers, time to pay your rent, whatever that expensive bill is every season or every game, however that, or every month, however that breaks down between the Spanos family and the Rams Kroenke family. But the Battle of LA, as some people like to call it, was won by the Rams 23-22. And that was a fun preseason game. I'm hoping for another fun one next week against Cleveland out there in Ohio. So, Rams Nation, let me know in the comment section, who are you most impressed with this game? Was it just Stetson? Was it other guys? And maybe some other people I didn't talk about that you were impressed with? And then your thoughts on the Stafford update. I'm always curious to see everyone's, opinions and how things are regarding quarterback one. So let me know in the comment section. I'll definitely read them. I'll definitely respond to them. And we had some fun banter last video talking about, the situation with the team and other fun stuff. So again, if you're on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell. And if you're on the audio only or podcast only side of things, share this podcast with all your friends. Any of those options helps other Rams fans to see our content. And man, I very much appreciate it. But whether we're in Oxnard, in Carson, or at SoFi Stadium, dang it, I love the Rams. And I know you do too. But never forget, go Rams.